All right, we're going to set up the rings on this thing. Now, these are the old rings, but this is just for demonstration purposes. We're going to put the ring in there, square it up, and then take your feeler gauge, stick down in there, and that one is just a little bit loose. So you want to, it's kind of a feel thing with feeler gauges. That's why they call them feeler gauges. You should feel just a slight drag on it, and that's going to be your gap. Now, like I said, these rings are old and toasty. They're worn out, so the end gap should actually be a lot less than it is. It's actually quite big on these, and the bore size is right on. It hasn't changed, but the rings are toast. So ring gap is actually like 16 thousandths. And on this thing, it should be around 10 to 12 thousandths if you go by it. Basically 3 thousandths per inch of bore. So that's just one. And then your oil ring, of course, is going to meet more clearance than that. A lot more. Top ring's about the same. You can see the oil ring just kind of slides right in there. It ain't got a whole lot of tension left to it. And it has quite a bit more clearance there. So, and this is just for this particular engine. Whatever, go by whatever specs on your piston or from your manufacturer, whatever they say. So if they say bore size should be, the ring gap should be 10 thousandths, it's all relative to piston size. Smaller piston is going to have a tighter ring gap than a bigger piston, and application too. Race bike, you're going to run more ring gap on it, just because you don't want the rings butting up against each other, which is just basically the ring doing this here, actually touching, which you'll see if you look at the edge of a ring there and you see a shiny spot right on the edge there. That's from the rings touching together, and they tighten up and they can ruin your cylinder or ruin your piston one. So not good stuff. Now the next check we're going to do is the ring depth, which is basically going to be, not basically, it is what it is. The depth that the ring goes down in the groove. And you can feel it almost off. The ring shouldn't be sitting up over the edge of the groove there. Like if it was like that, easy way to check it is take your dial caliper and measure down into the ring groove. And we are at 4 millimeters, just about 4 millimeters in that spot right there. And then if you measure the ring itself, just measure the thickness of the ring. It is 3.6 millimeters. So you got 0.4 millimeters, which is 0.4 millimeters. And that's what you're looking for, the depth, because what will happen if the depth isn't right, say you got carbon in there or you got the wrong ring pack and the ring's sticking up out of the piston there, it can lock too. Lock up, it'll be really tight. You probably put the piston in and you can't even move the piston really. The next check you're going to do is your ring side clearance, which is just what it says. So, for instance, this right here, that's the top ring. The top ring is smaller than the second ring. So second ring, you can see it wiggles around quite a bit. So that's entirely too much clearance. What happens with too much clearance is at high RPM, you get a ring flutter, which the rings won't seal because they're like bouncing up and down really. So they're not going to seal really well. So if you put your ring in there and take your feeler gauge and run it down the side of the ring into the groove, and it should go in there. This one's a little tight. Let me grab this feeler gauge here. That one just barely goes in there. It's tight. So let me grab this one here. Try it. That one's not really going in there. This one's a little bit thinner. So this one actually does go in there. But what you're looking for is about 1 to 3 thousandths side clearance. And this is that's 2 thousandths. So we know we're good because a 1 thousandths, actually I don't have a 1 thousandths feeler gauge. I think the smallest I got is 15 somewhere. It's not my set here, but you need to check those. You need to check the second ring, top ring, second ring, and the oil ring too for clearance. Now I don't have, this one's got a old style solid oil ring on it, which did have a spring in it on this style here. Some of them will have a 3-piece oil ring. You have an expander ring, which goes in first, and then your 2 small rails that go outside the expander ring. And then you're going to line up your, once you put new rings in there, you're going to line them up how the manufacturer says. Most of them would be like the way I do them, be like oil ring. You have your expander like right here, say, and you put one oil ring gap over here. And I'll do the other oil ring gap over here. And then as far as your second ring, you typically don't want them pointed towards the exhaust. So you want them about there for the second ring, and the top ring I'd do back over here or over here, depending on where I end up with oil rings. You don't want gap, gap, gap. That's pretty much it for the rings. So make sure you got side clearance. Make sure your depth is right. And again, the depth should be about 5 to 10 thousandths as a rule of thumb, as far as how far down deep the ring goes in the groove. Now remember, if you have carbon in there, it's going to change that. It's going to make your ring groove depth not right. So as carbon builds up, it actually pushes out on the ring. So it adds to ring wear, because it's moving the ring out, and it's not doing it in a consistent manner, because carbon doesn't form in a consistent manner. You might have a big clump of carbon over here and no carbon over here, or over here, or over here. So it's basically not round. That's going to affect it. And I think that's about all I got for those piston rings there. And I hope everybody has a good Labor Day coming up. I think my wife's working this weekend, all 3 days. And I guess I'll just be hanging out at home doing my thing, which I like to do anyway. So y'all take care. Thanks for watching. Thanks for liking. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for the comments. And take care.